Why saving your first $10,000 feels almost impossible. Saving your first $10,000 sounds simple when someone says it from the other side. Just save more, spend less, cut back, be disciplined. But that is not what it feels like when you are actually starting from zero, because most people are not going from $8,000 to $10,000. They are going from $0 to $200, then back to zero. They are going from $500 saved back down to $100. They are going from $1,000 straight into a car repair, a medical bill, a family emergency, a rent increase, or some problem they did not see coming. And that is the part that makes the first $10,000 feel almost impossible. It is not just a savings goal. It feels like trying to escape a reset cycle. You're not only trying to build money, you're trying to keep the money alive long enough for it to become stability. And for a lot of people, that is the real battle. Because the hardest part is not saving $10,000. The hardest part is keeping your first $1,000 alive long enough to become $2,000. That is where most people quietly get stuck. Not because they are lazy, not because they do not care, not because they are out here making reckless decisions every day, but because life keeps reaching into their account before their savings habit becomes strong enough to protect anything. You try to save and then something breaks. You finally build a little cushion and then your phone needs replacing. You get ahead for 1 month and then the rent goes up. You skip spending for a while and then someone in your family needs help. You tell yourself, this time I'm going to keep it. And then life gives your money a job before you ever get the chance to. That is why saving feels different in real life than it does on paper. On paper, saving $10,000 is just math. Save $500 a month and in 20 months you are there. Save $250 a month and eventually it adds up. Save $100 a month and at least you are moving. But real life does not always let the math stay clean. Because before your money becomes savings, it has to survive rent, groceries, transportation, debt, utilities, insurance, family support, subscriptions, stress spending, and all the little expenses that do not feel big enough to ruin anything until you realize they already did. The paycheck is not empty because nothing came in. It is empty because too many things touched it first. And that is the pressure most people do not talk about. You can get paid on Friday, and for a few hours, everything feels lighter. The number in your account goes up. Your shoulders relax a little. You feel like maybe this is the month where things finally start moving. Then rent takes its part. The car takes its part. The phone bill takes its part. Groceries take more than you expected. Debt takes a piece before you can even breathe. Something automatic charges in the background, and by the time you look again, the paycheck is technically there, but emotionally, it already feels gone. That is why saving the first $10,000 is not just about discipline, it is about protection. Because when your money is unprotected, life absorbs it. And the more pressure you are under, the faster it happens. This is also why emergencies hit so hard in the beginning. When someone already has $20,000 saved, a $400 emergency is annoying. When someone has $300 saved, a $400 emergency is a reset. Same problem, different damage. And that is why the early stage feels so unfair. Because one unexpected expense can wipe out months of effort. A car repair does not care that you were finally trying. A medical bill does not care that you had a plan. A broken appliance does not care that you were close to your first $1,000. Life just charges you, and the habit was still too new to defend itself. Most people are not failing to save because they do not care. They are failing because life keeps charging them before the habit becomes strong. And once that happens enough times, it starts to affect the way you see money. You stop seeing savings as progress. You start seeing it as money that is probably going to disappear anyway. That is the emotional trap. You save $200, but you do not trust it. You save $500, but you're already waiting for something to take it. You save $1,000, but instead of feeling proud, you feel nervous. Because deep down, you have seen this movie before. The money appears. Something happens. The money leaves. And you start over. That reset cycle is exhausting. And when you are exhausted, even saving can start to feel pointless. But the problem is not that saving does not work. The problem is that the beginning is the most fragile part. In the beginning, every dollar has less protection. Every mistake takes a bigger percentage. Every emergency does more damage. Every small leak matters more. A $15 subscription does not sound serious. A $12 lunch does not feel dangerous. A $30 delivery order feels normal. A $60 impulse buy feels understandable. A $100 weekend feels like life. And this is not about shaming people for spending money. Because people are allowed to enjoy their lives. People are allowed to be tired. People are allowed to want convenience. People are allowed to have one small thing that makes the week feel less heavy. But when you only have $400 saved, a $40 habit is not small. It is 10% of your safety. That is what makes the first $10,000 different. The same expense that feels harmless later can be dangerous in the beginning because early savings are not strong yet. They are not a wall. They are a seed. And if every week something keeps pulling from it, it never gets the chance to grow roots. This is why people can feel like they are doing everything right and still not see progress. They are trying to save, but the account is too fragile. The money is too exposed. The habits are too easy to justify. The pressure is too constant. And sometimes the debt is pulling in the opposite direction. Debt makes the first $10,000 feel like running uphill, especially high interest debt, because you may be saving $100 while interest is quietly pulling money from the other side. You are trying to build a cushion, but the balance is still charging you for the past. You are moving, but not getting far. You are trying, but the numbers barely change. You are making payments, but the debt still feels alive. That is why saving while carrying high interest debt can feel like filling a bucket while something is drilling holes in the bottom. And the frustrating part is that both things can be true. You may need savings because emergencies keep happening, but you may also need to attack debt because interest keeps eating your future money. So the answer is not always simple. It is not always save everything, and it is not always pay off everything first. For a lot of people, the first move is building enough savings to stop small emergencies from becoming new debt. Because if every emergency goes back on the credit card, the cycle never breaks. The savings account never grows. The debt never fully leaves, and every paycheck keeps arriving already under pressure. That is why the first $10,000 is not really about a number at first. It is about creating distance. Distance between you and panic. Distance between you and the next emergency. Distance between your paycheck and every problem waiting to claim it. But before that distance feels real, the process feels slow, painfully slow, because the first few $1,000s do not look powerful. $100 does not feel life-changing. $500 still feels vulnerable. $1,000 can disappear in one bad week. $3,000 feels better, but not safe. $5,000 feels real, but still fragile. And that is where a lot of people quit. Not because they cannot save, but because the reward is not visible fast enough. The beginning is boring. There is no dramatic transformation. No one claps for you because you did not order delivery. No one notices when you move $50 into savings. No one sees the version of you that almost spent the money but stopped. No one celebrates the quiet decisions. And because the progress is invisible, it can feel like nothing is happening. But something is happening. You are proving that money can stay. That is the first real milestone. Not the $10,000, not even the $5,000. The first milestone is the moment your money stops disappearing automatically. Because once money can stay, it can grow. And once it can grow, it can protect you. And once it can protect you, you start making decisions from a different place. That is why saving your first $10,000 requires a new identity, not just a budget. A budget can tell you where money should go, but identity decides whether you protect it when life gets tempting. Because at some point, you're going to see $500 or $1,000 sitting there, and your brain is going to say, I can finally breathe. And that is understandable, because when life has been hard for a long time, breathing room feels like spending room. You want to enjoy it. You want to reward yourself. You want to feel like all that effort gave you something. But that is the moment where the shift has to happen. Stop saying, I'll save whatever is left, and start saying, I will protect money before life can absorb it. You need to stop seeing savings as extra money and start seeing savings as defended money. You need to stop thinking like, if it is in my account, it is available. You need to understand, some money is not here to be touched. Some money is here to keep me from breaking. That is when the first $10,000 starts. Not when the number gets big, but when saved money stops feeling like extra money. Because if saved money always feels available, it will always be in danger. The first $10,000 has to become untouchable before it becomes powerful. Not untouchable forever, not untouchable in a real emergency, but untouchable from boredom, untouchable from comparison, untouchable from stress spending, untouchable from that feeling of, I deserve this because life has been hard. Because yes, you do deserve peace. You do deserve comfort. You do deserve moments that make life feel lighter. But you also deserve a future where one bad week does not send you back to zero. That is what the first $10,000 is really buying. It is not just buying a bigger bank balance. It is buying breathing room. It is buying fewer emergencies turning into debt. It is buying more options, more confidence, more time to think, less dependence on the next paycheck, the ability to say no, the beginning of financial control. Because when you have nothing saved, every problem feels urgent, every bill feels personal, every delay feels dangerous, every unexpected expense feels like a threat. But when you start building a cushion, even a small one, your nervous system changes. You do not become rich, you just become harder to shake. That is the part people miss. The first $10,000 is not about looking successful. It is not about bragging. It is not about becoming perfect with money. It is about no longer being financially easy to knock over. And the first part will feel slow. It will feel unfair. It will feel like you are saving money just to watch life take it. But every time you protect even a small amount, you are training a new pattern. You're teaching your paycheck that not all of it belongs to bills. You're teaching your account that money does not have to disappear immediately. You're teaching yourself that progress can be quiet and still be real. And eventually, the reset cycle starts losing power. Zero becomes $200, then $200 survives, then $500 survives, then $1,000 does not disappear, then $2,000 becomes possible, then $5,000 starts to feel less impossible. And one day, $10,000 does not feel like a fantasy anymore. It feels like proof that your money finally survived your life long enough to become stability. That is why the first $10,000 is so hard. Because you are not just building savings, you are fighting resets, debt, bills, habits, emergencies, and the emotional pressure to use money the moment it appears. But once you understand that, you stop blaming yourself for how hard it feels, and you start building the one thing the reset cycle cannot survive: protection. Because the goal is not just to save $10,000. The goal is to become the kind of person whose money does not disappear without permission. The first $10,000 is not the finish line. It is the first sign that your financial life is finally starting to hold its shape. And once your money can stay, your life starts to feel a little less fragile. If this made you look at money differently, subscribe to Fiscal Sense, because the goal is not to look rich. The goal is to stop being financially easy to break.